Good afternoon, Lisa.
Good afternoon, Andrew.
Dad's Army is 50 today.
Yes. Happy birthday,
Happy
Dad's
birthday,
Army.
Dad's Army.
Yes.
It will be 50 this evening, actually.
At 8:20.
Is it 8:20?
8:20.
Let's have a look. Yes. 8:20, Dad's Army, Episode 1, The Man and the Hour.
And we're just about to start it, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. In which our hero, I presume that means Captain Mannering,
Mannering, yeah.
forms a platoon of local defence volunteers to defend our island home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all it says.
Okay.
I'll go through the rest of the schedule later on, but we'll start the episode and see what we see.
Yes.
Okay?
We'll start the episode.
Right. Do you know this one, Lisa?
I have seen it before,
You've
yes.
seen it.
Yes.
But I have to say, I was very surprised when you get this opening sequence set in the present day. I mean, look
Yes.
at Pike
Yes.
with his moustache. Fraser is ancient.
Yes.
There's no sign of Jones.
Mm-hmm.
But look at Mannering and Wilson made up. Well, that's the thing. They're made up to look old, aren't they? Which is weird because
Yes.
this is broadcast, 1968, and this is supposedly 1968.
Mm-hmm.
But the series itself, ran a while, and you can see them getting older during the course of the series,
Yes.
can't you?
Mm-hmm.
But it's this scene is interesting in that you could argue that the whole of Dad's Army is actually now a flashback.
Mm-hmm.
Fraser with his hearing
Hearing
aid.
aid, yes. Yes.
But yes, it's all about backing Britain, isn't it, in this thing? And Mannering says it was the darkest hour in our history. But we're just about to go into the title sequence, and of course, this was not the original idea of the title sequence, was it?
No.
No, because it was meant to be all old sort of footage.
Footage of the Nazi horde.
But this didn't go down too well in certain quarters,
No,
did it?
no, the Director General was not pleased.
Yeah. So instead you get the... so this is the first version of the title sequence, because if you look, all the arrows, the white bit disappears and the arrows sort of then go back. But the audience do actually laugh at this.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's that hilarious, but,
No.
but yeah, you get the title sequence, the theme music, of course. It's not the full version of the theme music. There is an extra verse, which if you search, you can find.
Yeah.
Doesn't add a great deal much to it, but
No.
I was surprised when I first heard
The extra bit.
the full version. But yeah, it does actually say Episode 1, The Man and the Hour. But now you do actually get
You get a bit of footage.
a little bit of footage.
But this is footage of the English troops, isn't it? It's not really Nazis so much.
Well, I think there's a bit of everything. I think actually, I'm not sure.
I think it was the actual sight of Nazis, of soldiers walking along in Nazi uniforms that upset people, which I can understand.
Well, it's with the jaunty
with the jaunty music, it's too much for juxtaposition, isn't it?
Yeah. But I like the thing you've got the sort of British soldiers on their bicycles, contrasting with tanks.
Winston Churchill.
Because they do that a lot in the film.
Yeah.
That you keep cutting back and forth between the sort of German forces and the Home Guard and how little they've got in comparison. So yeah, I mean, it is quite a nice sort of joke that they are. I mean, it's a running theme through this whole first season that they've got nothing at all and have
no weapons, no uniform.
Have to make do. Because if you look here, Jones is turning the signpost round to the sea. He's actually got
uniform.
He's actually got uniform on here, which is more than you get. He's got the armband as well.
That's his old uniform though.
Yeah,
surely.
but the armband says LDV.
LDV, yes.
So this actually takes place after the first scenes we're going to see, because they haven't actually joined yet.
No, they haven't.
So yeah, the timeline of this is all over the place. Swallowbank, but sometimes known as Martin's Bank. Because in the film it's Martin's Bank, and I think there might be the odd reference to Martin's Bank in the series as well.
Hmm.
Pike is doing his... What sort of accent
I don't
is
know
it?
what sort of accent
Is it
it's
northern?
I really don't know.
I don't know.
Don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know who this chap in the big portrait is meant to be.
I'm sure it's meant to be the bank chairman or somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe. But yeah, there's the nice line about we've got a field of fire all the way up to Timothy White's or something like that. So yeah, from Sted & Simpson's to Timothy White's. If that woman got out of the phone box, we'd be able to hit the pavilion. But Mrs. Hoskins is calling her sister. I don't know whether we ever...
But have you ever seen Mrs. Hoskins?
Yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. There's as the series goes along, there were throwaway references to characters. So it does a good thing about just populating the town and making it seem like a real place. Because people have actually done maps of Wilmington-on-Sea, of where everything is. And I've always said to you, I'd love to make a Dad's Army computer game, you know, like sort of Skyrim or Fallout or something like that, where you've got the entire world and you play a character and you have to go through the world and do missions. So I always said you could have like things where you like have to help Godfrey get to the clinic or something like that. And then way out on the top of the map would be the old empty barn. And you'd get all the way to the old empty barn and find that there was nothing in it. But yes, I mean, how much Dad's Army do you think you know? You've seen pretty much everything.
I think I've seen pretty much everything now.
Yeah.
There are some episodes I'm not as familiar with, and some that I've seen far too much.
Yeah, but you have actually seen one of the missing ones, haven't you? Because we saw the stage play.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Because we saw the stage play adapted Stripe for Fraser and Loneliness of the Long Distance Walker, where Walker
is called up
but is allergic to corned beef.
Corned beef, yeah.
So I do pretty much feel like I know virtually all of Dad's Army. But yeah, I mean Wilson and Mannering are always brilliant together, isn't it? I mean, as a kid, I think maybe you think the funniest character is Jones because things happen to Jones, don't they? Like he'll dress up as a tree or something like that.
Yeah.
And isn't it the thing that because Clive Dunn is relatively young here, it's him, Pike, or Hodges that always have the stuff happening to them. But if you look at some of the film sequences, I mean, Fraser sort of does some stuff. There's the one where he's got this sort of, he's hanging on to the thing with the line going over the
zip line.
The zip line.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, even some of the older people. I know sort of Arnold Ridley obviously can't really do so much of it, and they make a joke. Oh, Miss King here, she doesn't hang around long. It's this thing that you could say that this show is quite, you know, there's not many female characters in it really, are there? There's Mrs. Pike, there's Mrs. Fox, and there's Godfrey's sisters
and the verger's wife.
But even Godfrey's sisters, you don't see, you hear more about them than you see.
Yeah. But it is the nature of the show that it is going to be more male dominated.
Yeah. Because
it was the men stepping up to do stuff. There were women in the Home Guard or the local defence volunteers, but not as many and not as early on.
Well, I mean, we just saw the episode Mum's Army, which was repeated on Saturday, wasn't it? And how do you think that one works? Do you think they could have gone with having women in the platoon or
Possibly,
not?
But I think it caused a bit too much of an upset.
Yeah.
Really, all the men competing with each other to.
Yeah.
Sort of...
Pike's feeling sick. He's been licking all the paper to stick up, but yeah, it's the first sign that sort of Pike's a bit weedy, isn't it? Because he's not got his coloured scarf on at the moment, isn't it? Because what was it? Arthur Lowe said, "Don't worry about not having a big part. Just get yourself a funny costume and stand next to me."
Yeah.
Because again, we've seen the drama documentary as well now, haven't we? So what was that called? We're Doomed.
We're Doomed. Yeah. The Dad's Army story.
Did that sort of teach you a thing or two about the production of it?
A few things.
And the obstacles they had to.
Yeah. They had a huge amount of obstacles.
To get it. Oh, did you used to have a coal scuttle like this? Cause now
coal scuttle, no.
This is the coal scuttle. We used to have a tall coal scuttle like that, but He's going to use it as a megaphone. So they sort of take the bottom out. And but yeah, I mean, we used to have an open fire.
We didn't have an open fire.
You said Nanny Stick did.
Nanny Stick did,
and
but
you
she
were
didn't,
scared of it.
Yeah, she didn't have a coal scuttle. Not that I remember, anyway.
I mean, yes, you've actually got the date here on the calendar, and there is this thing that, of course, the series runs a lot longer than World War II does.
Yes.
And it only seems to progress a year or two, doesn't it? Because the film, of course, is interesting in that you've got Walker in it in the film.
Yeah.
But it's very late in the war, isn't it? The film.
The more recent.
The
film,
more recent film. Yes. Because you have Walker, obviously not being in it when James Beck dies. But I quite like the idea that you have the note that Walker leaves, which says, "Dear Cap, gone up to the smoke to do a deal."
Yes.
And although he never comes back in the series, I like the idea that somewhere between the end of the series and the new film, Walker comes back.
Yes.
And I think that works. But here's a face you're not going to see often.
No, John Ringham.
Well, you are going to see him often.
You do see him, but playing different parts.
But yes, he's...
You never see him as Bracewell again, do you?
Because I think they thought that there were just slightly too many characters. And... yeah, I mean, okay, he's only in it the once, but maybe he doesn't make that much of an impression as somebody like Fraser or Jones does. He's just sort of a sort of fairly well-to-do chap with a bowler hat who's quite polite.
And you've got that in Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, he's somewhere between sort of Wilson and maybe even Godfrey, isn't he? Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, so I'm not sure you actually really need him.
But yeah, Fraser's coming... Now, Fraser's got his sort of naval... look about
he was
him,
in the Navy, wasn't he,
Yeah.
in the First World War.
But at this point, you don't get a reference to Fraser's funeral parlour.
No, because he doesn't own it yet, does he?
Well, it just sort of appears in when they sort of get into the colour episodes. But yeah,
Hasn't he got a sort of stamp?
yes, I keep a philatelist's shop. How do you spell that? SHOP. Now, to me, a philatelist's shop is a shop that sells philatelists. So it sounds like he doesn't sell stamps; he sells stamp collectors. But what do you think of Fraser? Because he's always sort of doing down Manring.
He's doing down until it all comes right at the end, and he said, "I never doubted you, sir. I never doubted you." But yeah.
But again, in some ways, this was sort of based on his sort of real life character, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because it was the thing about what was it? I'm an actor and I've done Shakespeare. Because isn't he in Henry the?
He's in Henry V.
Henry V.
Yeah, with Laurence Olivier.
Yeah. And and I get well known for doing this rubbish. So yeah, that's quite nice. But here comes Godfrey
he looks
now.
a little bit younger there.
Well,
They've done something to his hair.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. What I say about people, you can see them age during the course of the series. And going back to this first episode, it's quite interesting just to see, because I think probably, isn't it Sergeant Wilson in the last series or so? He's looking very gaunt.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, is that when he's off the?
He's given up drinking. Yeah,
and he looks worse for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. But Godfrey is just so polite, isn't he?
He is. He's such a nice person.
Yeah.
So, I noticed as well, knowing that because he was injured in the First World War, wasn't he?
Arnold Ridley.
Arnold Ridley, thank you. Forgot his name there. And he doesn't actually move his right arm that much.
No, is that where he was injured?
Yeah, I think he was injured in his right hand side.
Yeah.
He's got limited movement. So. And of course, his great niece is now in Star Wars.
Oh, right, yeah. Yes. Is it Daisy?
Daisy Ridley,
oh,
yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
There's Walker, looking very smart, it has to be said.
Yes.
Because this is the part that Jimmy Perry wrote for himself,
right.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it took him a while to accept that he wasn't going to get it, I think.
That it wouldn't be a good idea for him to get it.
But David Croft's argument was that you've written this, you've got to be on my side, behind the camera.
Yes.
It would cause divisions if you'd written it and were in it, because people would think you'd given yourself
the best lines.
And I can understand that,
Yes.
but I think Jimmy Perry took a while to accept that he was now the writer rather than an actor.
Yeah, because there's a nice scene in the drama documentary where all the actors are in the bar and they're
Yeah.
all laughing and joking, and you can see he's a little bit jealous
Yeah.
not to be included in that, in that sort of situation.
Yeah.
But because he's the writer, he's got to
Yeah.
keep separate, and he
Yeah.
realises that it's a good thing for him to keep separate.
But yeah, here's Jones with his straw boater on.
Yes.
He's just come from the shop. He signed on as a drummer boy in 1884.
And we did work it out.
That-
And if he started as a drummer boy, I think the minimum he could have been is about 14.
yeah,
So he would have been
So,
born
yeah.
in the sort of 1870s.
yeah.
18.
But I
70
think
or
they were,
something.
quite sort of meticulous with working out everybody's sort of history and sort of career, because you do get the surprise in the very final episode about Wilson, don't you? Because he's actually an officer. When the final episode with the wedding with Jones and Mrs. Fox,
yes.
and Mannering can't believe that, So I like the idea that they don't. There's things that they can keep in the background. I don't know whether they have any idea at this point. Because do you think they've got the Sergeant Wilson Pike thing worked out already?
Possibly not, no. I think that's something that
I
worked
don't know.
itself out as they went
We'll
along.
keep an eye out for it, but I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, there's Jones signing the desk as well. But yeah, this whole scene, of course, is recreated in the first film, and they don't rewrite it that much, I don't think, because it's quite a good way of introducing all your main characters, isn't it? You just sort of wheel them on, you give them a scene, and then when you come to the lineup, you've already met them. That's the thing. So it's a necessary scene, A, to tell the story, and B, to have the characters, get them known to the audience. But yeah, I like the idea that Jones is already using a bit of sort of bribery and to get his stripe, because that's the thing. I mean, your shopkeepers do have sort of power in the community, don't they? Because they're the only people you can get it from, apart from Walker and his sort of under the counter
His black market
dealings and things like that. But here's Hodges. I don't know. Does he even get a name at this point?
I'm not
think
sure.
it just says ARP
Warden. Yes.
Warden. Now, is Bill Pertwee the warm-up man?
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah,
Yeah.
because he did do that. I think because obviously it shows that in the doc.
Yeah,
doc
but does he do them all, or do you
don't
get
know.
others like sort of Felix?
Might get Felix Bonus for
Yeah,
some
I'm
of
not
them,
sure.
yeah.
I need to look. But again, there's this. You've already got the conflict between, Mannering's got his job to do, and Hodges has got his job to do. And although Hodges does needle Mannering, he's still having to do something, and it is a volunteer thing, isn't it? So yeah, I love the fact everybody has to come into the office. Again, sort of keep an eye on the background artists, because they do change over time.
Yes.
I don't know whether you can see sort of Private Sponge here at this point. I don't know. Somewhere I've got a list of all the background artists, and it's in one of our many books. But yeah, some really tight camera work here. As everybody's,
Yes. Well, it has to be, doesn't it?
Everybody's bunched up, and I think Mannering's not too keen on being like Fraser's almost sort of face to face with him. But yeah, it's a good episode. This one, I think it's a strong start, and of course it had to be, because you've got to lay out the whole setup, hasn't it? Because it was quite a difficult sell, I think, because people were saying, well, why should we want to see anything about the war? That's that's over 20 years ago, and nobody's interested. So yeah, here we've got the first lineup, and they've got their weapons on sticks, isn't it? Sort of tie a carving knife to a broom handle or something like that. But yeah, you see, Jones has actually got his uniform here, but of course it's his old one, whereas Mannering and Wilson are just in their best suits, really.
Yes.
Pike's got his broom handle, but he's still got the brush on it. So that's a typical. You've got to explain everything to Pike, haven't you? But oh yeah, you should know you've been my mum's friend since before I was born. So they do. They
Perhaps
are.
they are seeding
They
it a
are
bit.
hinting it already.
Yeah.
They are hinting at it already.
Hmm.
So that's nice. Godfrey, weirdly, is the only one with a gun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not his. It's his friend's.
Mm.
Who is this friend? That's the thing. We never find out who this friend in a good manner on. He's got a friend, a gun. Just like the idea he's surprised he's even got a friend.
Mm-hmm.
But
Is it a special friend? Do you think that's the feeling I always get with Godfrey?
well, there are hints about sort of Godfrey and women and things like that. It's all very subtly done, but I really don't know. No, because Godfrey, when they've got the threshing machine one.
Oh yes, it's
'Cause
the farmer's wife.
Yeah,
Yes,
he was very fond
very
of.
fond of
so,
her. Okay.
So I don't think.
It does come across.
I don't think sort of Godfrey's background is as clear cut as you might think.
No,
But,
no. He's just a very gentle character,
yeah,
isn't he?
Yeah.
So.
But Fraser with his boat hook or whatever it is, is what's Walker? Yeah, Walker's also got a broom handle with a carving knife. But Bracewell's got his golf club with him. But yeah, I like the way he's all dressed up and he's about to go on somewhere. So yeah, because you do hear about his golf club in episode 2, don't you? Yeah, ironically, his Bracewell is mentioned, and so is the club, but you never actually see him again. But yeah, you get a little brief look at the ones in the second row, just to sort of, but the camera stays. I like the way Fraser gets called Taffy at that point. Slightly wrong, but I like the watches that Walker's got in his jacket, and Bracewell's quite keen to have one. So yeah, he's already doing fairly good business here. But have we established the joke about Jones being slightly behind? I'm not sure we have yet. But I was going to say, this church hall setup, and I said this to Warren when we did episode 2, because we covered that one a couple of editions ago.
Yeah, episode 21.
Episode 2 of Dad's Army, though. Yeah,
yes, episode 21
of our podcast. Yeah. The whole thing about sort of meeting in the church hall, because did you have a church hall that you used to have meetings in locally or not?
There was a church hall. I never really went to anything in there.
Yeah.
I used to go because I used to belong to an amateur dramatics group, and that was at the local arts centre.
Yeah.
And there was some heavy metal
Morris
dances
next
door. Yeah.
But here's the diagram of the tank. There's an awful lot of guns and things sticking out, heavy and light machine guns and flamethrowers and grenade throwers. But this scene really does sort of sum up sort of Dad's Army, doesn't it? That if a tank came rumbling up the high street, you need to know how to deal with it. And the idea that they've got any chance at all is somewhat laughable, I guess.
But they're all prepared.
But that's the thing.
To lay down their lives for it.
This is the thing, that we might laugh, but they are being absolutely deadly serious.
Yes.
And although Jones is suggesting sticking spuds up the exhaust pipe, he's trying to come up with a suggestion that will work. Again, later on, you get the thing about your going into the sort of realms of fantasy here, Jones. But
yes.
But yeah, you've got the petrol can and the what was it? Petrol bombs they're going to make later on. So was it Molotov cocktail?
Molotov cocktail,
as made by Mr. Chalice in the Seeds of Doom.
And named after Michael Palin's character in The Death of Stalin. He plays Molotov.
Ah, right, I see. But I'm just trying to sort of imagine how they plotted this whole series, this first series, because they wrote episode 1 and then were told write another 5.
Yeah.
So Is it the case that Jimmy Perry wrote one and David Croft then acted as script editor, and
I don't
then they
know.
swapped around?
Possibly, because when they're go back to the drama again, they're writing bits and saying, "Well, I don't like that line.
Yeah.
That line's not funny. Well, I don't think that line's very funny."
Yeah.
And I don't know whether they're writing bits of script for a whole episode. So I would
Well,
imagine trying to write a bit of an episode, and somebody else write another bit of an
I
episode.
don't
is
think
quite
it works
difficult.
like the Goodies. You see, the Goodies, Graham Garden writes one half and Bill Oddie writes the other half. I think the way this worked is that one would write one episode,
And then somebody write
and the
next.
next one would write the next episode, because there are different styles of. It is fairly seamless, because
Yes.
but every now and then they'll stick in one which is a bit more dramatic, because of course we said about Mum's Army.
Yeah.
But then of course we've also seen where the one where Godfrey's
Well, branded.
where he's a conscientious objector, but
yeah.
then revealed to have the military medal, isn't it? Yeah. And that is always one of my favourite ones. You never like it because they're mean to Godfrey.
They are mean to Godfrey. I never like these things. And I understand that you do get conflict.
Yeah.
But yeah.
To me, this is when Dad's Army is at its best. Not when you've got, sort of falling in water stuff, but when you've either got stuff that's real good character interplay. This Bracewell, I say, waving at the tank to get his attention. I like that. You fascist beasts, and just that look for Mannering, and I love the way the blanket doesn't quite go over them right either as well. But yeah, it's the character stuff that really sort of attracts me, because these are not only well done characters, you've got some very, very good actors playing the part.
Yeah, because John Lawrence, you said he did a lot of Shakespearean stuff. Arnold really was a playwright in his own right.
Yeah. These are formidable, people with formidable careers. That's the thing. Clive Dunn already is known for playing old men, isn't he?
And he was probably sick and tired of it. But it's that thing of once you get into that sort of, once you're known for that. That's
because we've seen Bootsy and Snudge where he's an old man.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
No, we haven't seen Bootsy. We haven't got Bootsy and Snudge.
No, we have got one Bootsy and Snudge.
Was it on the Army Game?
It's a bonus one, and we did watch it, and he's already playing an old man in that. But yeah, there's the line to Mrs. Pike. You should know what time he goes to bed. So, will you be later round later for your usual? No. So they've already got the Mrs. Pike Wilson stuff. Oh, the lorries arrived with the weapons and uniforms.
They just get armbands, don't they? The OTV armbands.
In the chat comes with the box of uniforms and weapons. So the uniforms are the armbands, and the weapon is pepper.
To throw in the faces of the Nazis.
Enemy for throwing in the face of.
Yeah.
I like the way it says that. Range 5 feet. I was going to say, can you throw pepper 5 feet? I'm not even sure I can.
You can. It'll disperse.
It depends which ways the
winds go.
But I like the way they say every weapon is a nail in the coffin of the enemy. So yeah, they're a little dispirited that's what they've got. But yeah, Mannering will do the the speech at the end. A short time ago, we were just an undisciplined mob, but now we can deal with tanks, and it's a bit, and we can make them all sneeze with our pepper. So he's very good at sort of geeing up the men, isn't he?
Yes.
And that's his role. So yeah. He may have appointed himself the commander, but he is actually probably one of the of the best choices in morale. That's the thing. Jones always said about you're our inspiration. So and we finished on the wide shot of everybody cheering.
Yes.
And now we get the slightly weird end credits, which is just some sort of caption slide of sort of a field with some woods, and everybody sort of
walking,
jigging up and down on the spot. But notice the way that everybody's does it differently.
Yes.
Because they're I think the film footage does exist of this stuff on the DVD. If you look, you can see how over time the uniforms actually they do actually change the clothes on the end credits, and it's just good to see it all coming together. But there you go. There's there's The Man and the Hour, and as we said briefly, we'll just go through what was on that day.
Yes.
BBC One started at 10:45 in the morning. Watch with Mother, Busy Lizzie, Man in the Moon. And I'll jump ahead to something that really caught my eye. I'd never heard of this. 1645 Moon Clue Game.
Okay.
A race through space. This week, Terry Scott and the Taurans versus Hugh Lloyd and the Capricorns. Referee Brian Cant. Devised and presented by Britt Allcroft. And I get the feeling that must be missing because I've never heard it. I'm going to look that up later on the thing, because this sounds utterly fascinating to me. I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
Wings, the story of animal flight with Peter Scott. The Adventures of Tintin. Objective Moon Part 3. There's an awful lot of moon and space stuff, isn't it?
The moon landings aren't for another
Because the
year
moon
yet.
landings are... But that's interesting that there's all this stuff here. News and the Weatherman. Wednesday show with David Jacobs. Dina Webster, The Dancers, Sally Graham, Molly Malloy. And then 1640, How to Make Your First Million. The story of inventors and scientists who became businessmen. Okay, fair enough. News headlines, The Virginian, Ride a Dark Trail with James Drury as the Virginian. Dad's Army, episode 1 at 20 past 8. The news at 10 to 9, and then Playbill at 5 past, A Breach in the Wall by Ray Lawler. Just see if there's anybody's name that jumps out on that. Not really. With,
Rosemary Leach.
Rosemary Leach.
And John Phillips.
Okay, right. I can see Hilda Braid down the list there.
Right, okay.
And William Moore. 24 Hours, that's the news of the day, with Kenneth Alsop and Michael Barrett. Contrasts, and news headline at 14 minutes past 11. So there you are. So that was the evening.
Yes, 31st of July, 1968.
1968, 50 years ago today then. Bye-bye.
Bye.